Hello. Welcome back to my channel. I am Monet and you're watching Life is Monet. With spring coming up, I am very excited for the winter to be over. I have some books that I want to try to get to throughout the spring season, and today we're going to talk about those. So the first book I have that I want to try to get to this spring is going to be Anna K, which is a retelling of Anna Karenina, and we are following this Korean American 17-year-old girl who lives in Manhattan, and she seems to have her life together. She has the perfect group of friends, the perfect boyfriend, and one day she meets this guy who seems to be everything that she is not, and she is captivated by him and they fall in love. And Anna K has to decide how much of her life she is willing to give up to be with this guy. So this book is a favorite for a lot of the booktubers that I follow. I always see it talked about, I always see it recommended, and I grabbed it a while ago. It's been sitting on my shelf for a long time, and I feel like spring is the perfect season for me to pick it up and to try to read it. Last year I read Darius the Great Was Not Okay, and I love that book so much. Darius is this character that we follow who doesn't ever seem to fit in at school, and he is essentially bullied a lot, and he has a very strenuous relationship with his father, who feels like Darius could try harder and try to fit in more. And so he almost appears to kind of blame Darius for the mistreatment that he experiences at school. In the first book, Darius has to travel back home to Persia to meet his family, and he gets to explore a lot of his ethnic roots, and he meets a friend, and this is like the first time he's ever really had a friend that he can call on and depend on. Throughout the first book, you get to follow Darius through all of these different relationship dynamics, and also a little bit of exploration into his sexuality, but that is not the focus of book one, which is why I'm really excited to read Darius the Great Deserves Better, because I have been told that Darius actually comes out as queer off page, so after the end of book one, before we actually get to book two. So at the start of this book, he is already out, I guess, to his family or out to his friends, and we get to finally explore his romantic relationship with people. But I am just really excited to read about Darius again. I felt like he was a very compelling character. I was very empathetic towards him and just completely drawn into his story, and I love the way that the story was told in book one. I really enjoyed the writing mechanics, and I'm hoping that we get to keep up with that in this one as well. And I know that the author recently put out another book, I think it's called Kiss and Tell, that I've seen only like 2 or 3 reviews, but they were all 5 stars. So maybe I'll pick that one up if I end up enjoying this one. The next 2 books I want to read are both by Frederick Bachman, and that is going to be Anxious People and A Man Called Ove. I have read 3 novellas by Frederick Bachman, all of which I have enjoyed. I've given them all essentially 4 and 5 stars, and I am thoroughly impressed by Frederick Bachman's writing skills. And after reading 3 very short novellas, I believe the first one was 76 pages, and then 56 pages, and then like 80 pages, it is time for me to read a full-length novel. In the first one, I know that we're following multiple people as they are held hostage during a robbery, and in the second one, we're following a seemingly very grumpy older man. I know that this one has been made into a movie, and a lot of people love this. They said that it made them cry, and that I am no stranger. Like Frederick Bachman, when I read Every Morning The Way Home Gets Longer and Longer, I was in tears. I was bawling. So the waterworks, he has already made them work for me, and so I would not be shocked if A Man Called Ove made me cry as well. But I'm very excited to finally be reading a full book and not just a novella by Frederick Bachman. The next book I want to read is The Hand of the Sun King. The synopsis of this one sounds so interesting. We are following this character by the name of Alder, and on Alder's father's side, there is a generational legacy of proud loyalty and service to the godlike emperor, and he is expected to follow in the tradition of his father's side of the family. However, from his mother's side of the family, he has inherited a defiance from the empire, a history of wild gods and magic unlike anything the imperial empire has ever seen and has really yet learned to control. Now on the verge of taking the steps that will forge the path of his life, Alder discovers the conflict between the empire and the resistance resistance is only the beginning of a war that will engulf both heaven and earth, gods and man, and he may be the key to the final victory for whichever side can claim him as their own. Alder is going to be torn between the legacies of his maternal side and paternal side, and he's going to have to decide which he's going to support. Then I have All Roads Lead Here. This is a romance book by Mariana Zapata, who is a very, very, very slow burn romance author. And I read From Lukov with Love and I DNF'd it. And then I read Wait For It, which I gave 5 stars, but it was the slowest slow burn I have ever read. And so I have like 1 DNF, 1 5-star read, and it is time for me to pick up another Mariana Zapata to see if she is an author for me, or maybe Wait For It was a one-hit wonder. So one of the last 2 books that I'm hoping to get to this spring is The Beautiful Ones. This one comes highly, highly, highly recommended by my friends. It is also a very beloved book, and it has a historical setting, and we're following like socialites, and there is a romance that is occurring in this book. But you know, I don't know the exact synopsis of this book. I just know that like I have been bullied into reading it, and every time I see someone review this book, they always give it high ratings, and it's time for me finally to pick it up. Also, it's time for me to read another Sylvia Moreno Garcia book, because every time I pick up a book by this author, the writing style is so very different. They have a very wide range, and so I'm interested to see what this author does with a historical fiction that has, I believe, some type of fantastical or magical realism aspects to it. And then the last book I'm hoping to read is called Clara and the Sun. This book explores humanity and what it means to be human and to love in a modern world with all of this advanced technology through the eyes of an AI who is very enthusiastic and hopeful for humanity. I have heard contradicting opinions about this book, but I still don't know exactly where I would land based off of the reviews that I have heard. And so this is one of those cases where the only way I'm going to know if I like this book is if I pick it up and read it myself. And so this spring I will be doing that. And so this is our lovely pile of books that I'm hoping to read this spring. Clara and the Sun, Anna K, Darius the Great Deserves Better, The Hand of the Sun King, A Man Called Uv, Anxious People, The Beautiful Ones, and All Roads Lead Here. These are actually, now that I'm looking at it, it's a wide variety of fiction and adult and YA and romance, and I'm excited for my spring TBR. Let me know in the comment section what books you'll be reading this spring, and I will see you guys next time.